Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the steering committee for the event we are hosting today, I have the great pleasure to be your co-master of ceremony with Diane Mutondo. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the official launch of the online platform for the safety of journalists in Africa. My name is Pat Mwase, and I'm a member of the African Editors Forum.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, I'm happy to wish you the warmest welcome today to the launch of the virtual platform for the safety of journalists in Africa. I would like to start with introducing myself. My name is Diana Ambo Mutondo, and I will be your co-master of ceremony for this event. Allow me to briefly introduce you to the agenda. We're going to have a high-level opening with the graceful presence of His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the chair of the President of South Africa and President of the African Union. His Excellency Thomas Nkosi-Quartey, who is the Vice Chairman of the Commission of the African Union, will make a speech. And we will also have with us Janissima S.E.L. King, Commissioner, who will also make a speech. And together with Commissioner King, we will have Jovial Rantau, who is the President of the Forum of African Editors, as well as Lydia Kashungi, who is a regional councillor for the freedom of expression and safety of journalists. After the high-level opening session, we will have two panels. The first of these panels will concern the role of the African Union in defending media freedom in Africa. And then we'll have a second panel entitled Collaboration with the Partners for Free Media in Africa. That will be an open discussion. I'm now going to give the floor to my co-MC, Pat Mwase, who will tell us important logistical details about interpretation in particular and other logistics.
Thank you very much, Diane. In order for us to get smoothly through our program, please note that you can post your comments in the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. We would like to make this panel discussion after the formalities as interactive as possible and respond to all your questions, or at least as many as we can in the time that we're given. What we are launching today, my colleagues, is your platform. It's there for us to use to end impunity against journalists in Africa.
Permettez-moi aussi, Mesdames et Messieurs,
If I may, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, I would like to first thank the organizers and members of the steering committee of this platform, which I am honored to have been a member of myself. So I would like to start with thanking our colleagues and friends who have participated in this initiative and who have made this event possible. To start with, I would like to thank Mr. Jovial Rantau, who is the chairperson of the Forum of African Editors. I would like to thank Lydia Kashungi, who is the regional councillor for the freedom of expression and safety of journalists. I would also like to salute Mr. Dama Jama, who is a colleague from the African Union, most specifically working with the APRM. Churchill Oteno from the East African Editors Forum, Tristo Batu, and Mr. Makadetu from the African Editors Forum, Mr. Willy Ponda Mr. Pali from the African Journalists Federation, le représentant de la Fédération internationale des journalistes, and Mr. Adorogenetu Tassau du bureau de l'UNESCO à Addis Abeba. Finally, Mr. Alfred Boulakali from Article 19. I want to thank you all very much for your support and attention, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor now of introducing Madam Lydia Kashungi, Regional Councillor for Freedom of Expression and Safety of Journalists. She is going to take us through a small time journey to tell us about the genesis of this platform. Thank you very much.
Lydia, ton micro est coupé.
Lydia, your microphone is not on.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. It is our distinguished honor to host you this morning, and as a member of the steering committee, and on behalf of UNESCO, and in particular, UNESCO Addis Ababa office, in the presence of Annalisa, director, who's been guiding us, we are really excited to have you here, and would like to take you through what we are calling a memory lane. As the famous saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This launch that we have today for the digital platform for the safety of journalists in Africa has been a journey walked by like-minded partners with one common goal and one agenda, which is to end impunity on crimes against journalists in Africa. Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, the steering committee that has been spearheading this initiative wish to start by taking you briefly down to a memory lane to enable you appreciate the concerted efforts by African media stakeholders in addressing the multifaceted challenges the journalists and the media workers in Africa have been going through. Today's launch is a culmination of the past and ongoing national and sub-regional, interregional initiatives in Africa, all aimed at providing a holistic, multi-stakeholder approach in addressing safety of journalist concerns on the continent. As you may know, in most of the efforts that we have had, particularly as African media partners, the glaring gap or the gap that we have identified is lack of coordination among the different actors, and particularly between the right and the duty bearers. This has been the missing link to provide the results that each one of us as a media stakeholder has been wanting to see. May I say, as UNESCO, and in line with the mandate that the organization has as the lead UN agency for freedom of expression and the safety of journalists, we began this journey supporting our partners back in 2017 in terms of multi-stakeholder coordination mechanism. And it is at that moment that we held the first regional coordination meeting in Nairobi that came up with a declaration in 2017. And allow me to just highlight one of the key recommendations that has informed this journey, that we want to credit the partners from the Eastern Africa region, from South Sudan, from Rwanda, from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Uganda, and from Madagascar, and those that joined us, the international partners, in particular, the International Media Support, the Free Press Unlimited, and Article 19, they were part of this journey. And one of the recommendations from that meeting was to establish a national coordination mechanism in all the countries to ensure that we bring together those partners that are in the following categories. We said the government has to be on board through the three arms of the government, and we have to have the journalist associations on board. We have to engage with the lawyers associations, the civil society, human rights defenders, journalism training and research institutions, the media regulatory bodies, the NGOs, INGOs, relevant UN bodies, and all the other media development partners. And this discussion was not in vain, because after that, and towards the World Press Freedom Day in Ghana, the same partners came together and organized one of the sessions that discussed how to roll out these recommendations, both at the national level and sub-regional level. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey continued, and after Ghana, the recommendations formed what we call the Interregional Conference that was held in Addis Ababa in 2018. This was an important milestone. It brought together both the duty bearers and the right bearers. Majority of the participants in this meeting were from the government entities, from the three arms of the government. And we had several police spokesmen, we had judges, and we had the media stakeholders, the media networks, and the civil society. If you recall, for those that attended this meeting, we had one of the big declarations that called on UNESCO, the African Union, to join hands at the continental level and support the rollout of national coordination mechanisms, sub-regional coordination mechanism, and at the continental level to bring together all these like-minded partners to roll out one coordination mechanism that will create synergy among all the stakeholders. UNESCO being the lead agency, as we said, and being one of the partners that produce tools, we came together and with our international partners and African partners, we produced the reference documents that informed the partners on how we can roll out national coordination mechanism and of course the regional coordination mechanism. This was taken on board, and in 2018, Kenya, South Sudan, and Uganda and Somalia were some of the countries that really took on board the recommendations and started rolling out mechanism. And also after Ethiopia, the Interregional Conference, Ghana, that was led by the Assistant Minister of Information, put together a multi-stakeholder team that rolled out the National Coordination Mechanism for Safety of Journalists in Ghana. All these efforts were also bore fruit because some of the regions started having sub-regional meetings to discuss at that level on how now the countries can join efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, we took advantage of the 2019 World Press Freedom Day that was held at the African Union, and we convened a stakeholders meeting that agreed on now the next steps to actualize all these discussions and make the continental coordination mechanism a dream come true. It is after the May 2019 that the discussion was also taken to London Global Media Conference, where the deputy chairperson of the African Union was one of the speakers and a key stakeholder that pushed the agenda for Africa. During that meeting, we learned very good lessons from the Council of Europe that had an excellent presentation on their platform on promoting journalism and the safety of journalists in Europe. We took the lessons and we discussed when we got back home. We brought together the like-minded partners and we said it is the high time now we put together a steering committee. So after 2019 and starting 2020 before COVID struck, we came together and we say, let's have representatives from different categories. That's the media networks, the civil society, the development partners. And this is a committee that was presented to you this morning. So we began the discussions of how to establish the digital platform back in 2019 in November, then we brought it forward to 2020. And even with the COVID, we were able to meet virtually, we were able to make milestones, we were able to put together frameworks, and we appreciate the fact that also the commissioner, and this is a key partner, key stakeholder that really we have leveraged on from the Banjul Commission, the special rapporteur on freedom of expression and access to information in Africa, gave us a very supportive word that partners, the media stakeholders, go ahead, I am with you. And that opened the door of further consultations with other key stakeholders from the African Union. This is the African Court on Human and People's Rights. And then we also approached the African governance architecture. And besides that, we worked with the Africa peer review mechanism that was actually part of the steering committee. With that support, and with the support of civil society represented by Article 19, and the media networks are represented by the Federation of African Journalists and the African Editors Forum. Today, we are coming together to launch what these like-minded partners have put together on behalf of the African media stakeholders. May I add this presentation by saying, as much as UNESCO, we've walked this journey, our role is to advise and our role is to support. We want the African media stakeholders to run with this initiative, and we'll support you. And I give back the floor to the MCs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you so much, Lydia, for this great presentation. I'd like to call upon Mr. Jovial Ranto, the president of the African Editors Forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Diana. Thank you very much, Pat. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, fellow journalists. Good morning, editors. Very, very welcome to our excellencies, honored guests, dignitaries. Thank you very much to Lydia for quite a wonderful and memorable journey back to where we started. Context, as we know, is very important, and that's what Lydia gave to us. On the 13th of December, 1998, investigative journalist and editor Norbert Zongo from La Independent, who exposed extortion and impunity within the then government of Burkina Faso led by Blaise Compaoré, was kidnapped, taken to a deserted field, brutally murdered, set alight in his own car by the army. His crime? Journalism. Zongo tracked down the truth and was not afraid to expose it. He was not afraid to speak his mind and was critical of government. And for that, he was killed. The evening of 16 December 2004 was a special one for Deida Haidara, the editor of The Point newspaper in the Gambia, and his colleagues. Their publication in 2013, and they held a small anniversary to celebrate. Haidara was driving home with his colleagues Isato Yane and Nyan Sarang Jobe, when a man in a passenger seat of a passing car shot Haidara. Bullet went into his head and chest. He was killed instantly. His colleagues were injured. We now know that Haidara was killed by officers from the Gambian army for doing his job as a journalist, for telling the truth, for afflicting the comfortable and comforting the afflicted. In November 2017, Tanzanian journalist Azori Gwanda was reported missing by his wife in the Kibiti district south of Dar es Salaam. He has not been seen since, dead or alive. Before his disappearance, Gwanda had reported on the high murder rate in the district. The Tanzanian security authorities have claimed that the matter is still under investigation, but no one has confidence in this. On April 7, 2020, our colleague Ibrahim Mbaruko, a reporter and news presenter from the Palma Community radio broadcaster in the northern province of Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, left work at 6 p.m. heading home. Soon thereafter, he sent a text message to a colleague saying he was surrounded by soldiers. He had seen or heard from again. The Burundi 4 were lucky in a way. October 2019, they were on a routine assignment to interview protesters in the province of Bubanza. For this, they were assaulted, detained, taken to court, and sentenced to prison, sentenced to 2 to 2.5 prison sentences. Their crime, doing their work as journalists and giving the voice to the protesters who had resorted to their action because they were not being heard. The four served 430 days in prison and are now free because of the good heart of the new president who has pardoned them. Ladies and gentlemen, we stand on the shoulders of these giants, these heroes of the media in Africa, in whose name we today launch this platform that is designed to help end the harassment, detention, and even murder of journalists just for doing their work. The sad, painful, and cold reality brought to us by the fate of African journalists who have paid the ultimate price is that in some of our beloved continent, freedom of the media, freedom of expression, access to information is a matter of life and death. Today we launch a mechanism stakeholders to ensure that our content is free to Africans themselves and to the world. Even the media. The digital platform for the journalists strengthen, organized, and in so doing improve their own personal communities, the media them existing people receive information that will enable them to make informed decisions about their own lives. We have in place a system and workflow that will ensure that every alert is checked for quality and facts before it is published. Coordinators in the different regions of our continent, different countries will receive alert from grassroots organizations and then fact and quality check them before passing them on to the editor of the website. The editor will do the same quality check and then send a copy to the specialty office and then publish. The steering committee has also put together a guidance which will ensure that the platform is not only sustainable, but that it is run professionally and that it has sound corporate governance structures in place. The platform we are presenting today is a product of great teamwork built over hours and hours of meetings, agreements, and many disagreements. All these efforts were in pursuit of a dream that one day media in Africa will be totally free to do its work. A dream that one day the media in Africa will be totally free to tell the story of Africa in all its beauty and otherwise. Totally free, as the great Steve Biko said, to write what we like. It is very easy when we speak about media freedom violations in Africa to conclude that all governments are guilty of this. The truth, however, ladies and gentlemen, is that while we have serial offenders, we also have friends in the media in those ranks. We count amongst them the president of Burkina Faso, Roch Marc Christian Kabore, who has sent a special message to all of us gathered here in honor of this historic launch. President Kabore said, "I congratulate the African Editors Forum, UNESCO, and other stakeholders for the launch of the digital platform for the safety of journalists. The media has a crucial role to play in the life of our societies in search of a better being for our communities. Africa's march towards achieving the goals of 2063, Agenda 2063 must include the need to protect and promote a free and independent media. We have a duty to vigorously protect the right of journalists to do their job of collecting, publishing, and disseminating information, even if we do not agree with all or part of what is said or written. This is the very essence of their profession and their indispensable contribution to the governance of our countries. Burkina Faso remains committed to press freedom and media independence. This is why we have removed all pieces of legislation that violates media freedom. To strengthen our democracies, no longer will a journalist go to jail for any offense. No journalist should see their life threatened in the exercise of their profession. That is why in Burkina Faso, through me, we express our support for this initiative led by the African Editors Forum, UNESCO, and other partners. That was the message from President Kabore. Ladies and gentlemen, we launched this platform in the middle of a war declared on our communities and nations by an invisible enemy that has devastated our families, communities, nations, and economies. COVID-19, the respiratory infection that is spread through the virus, is in the main a medical challenge, but it cannot be dealt with without the key role that the media has got to play in advancing knowledge, news, and information to people. This puts journalists and other media practitioners at the forefront of the collective effort to inform our continent about the causes, treatment, and other mitigating factors dealing with the pandemic. We today stand in solidarity with the journalists and editors who are in the forefront of telling the story of COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a historic day, and let us celebrate this day by immediately folding our sleeves and getting to work. The launch today does not mean that our work has come to an end. It only means that our work has started in earnest. Let us also recall that the freedom and the right of people to information are enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, the Declaration of Principles of Freedom of Expression in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that governments throughout the continent have got the duty to refrain from undue interference with the right to media freedom, and that they must promote and protect citizens' rights to access to information. Let us also reiterate that intimidation of journalists, harassment, arbitrary detentions, closures, internet cuts, media closures, censorship, the trials of journalists before military courts over crimes committed while discharging their duties must be a thing of the past. On behalf of the steering committee and on behalf of all the journalists and on behalf of all the editors throughout Africa, I commend to you the digital platform for the safety of journalists in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jovial Ranto, for this presentation. I'd like to call upon Honorable Jamesina A.C. King, the Commissioner of the African Commission of Human and People's Rights. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Diana. His Excellency, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and AU Chairperson. His Excellency Roch Marc Christian Kabore, President of the Republic of Burkina Faso. His Excellency Thomas Kwesi Kwate, AUC Deputy Chairperson. Honorable Lady Justice Tujilani R. Chizumila of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Professor Eddie Maloka, CEO of the African Peer Review Mechanism. Ambassador Salah S. Ahmad from the Secretariat African Governance Architecture. The Director General and representatives of the UNESCO Addis Liaison Office to the AU. representatives of the steering committee of the digital platform, representatives of the African and international media networks and civil society, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me at the outset to extend my sincere thanks to the conveners of the launch of the digital platform for the protection of journalists. As the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression and Access to Information in Africa, which is a special mechanism of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, it is my honor to participate in this virtual event. As you are all aware, journalists and all other media practitioners play an important role in guaranteeing the exercise of the right to freedom of expression. They provide the public with the necessary information to develop an opinion and make informed decisions. However, in spite of their indispensable role in society, journalists are often targets of threats, intimidation, harassment, arrest and detention, in addition to physical attacks, which have sometimes resulted in murder. And we heard the last speaker highlighting this. Furthermore, there has been an alarming rise of reports of attacks against media houses in recent years. The Commission has continually decried such attacks on the media fraternity, and most recently in Resolution 468 on the safety of journalists and media practitioners in Africa, adopted during the 67th Ordinary Session held in December 2020, in which the Commission condemned the deteriorating situation facing journalists and other media practitioners in Africa, and urged state parties to ensure their safety and create a conducive environment for them to practice their profession. Ladies and gentlemen, the regional standard for the protection of journalists in Africa, that is the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, provides in Article 9 that every individual shall have the right to receive information, in addition to the right to express and disseminate opinions within the law. This provision basically entails the right to express an opinion without interference. In elaborating on the scope of Article 9, the Commission adopted the revised Declaration of Principles of Freedom on Freedom of Expression and Access to Information in Africa in November 2019, specifying the following principles in relation to the protection of journalists and media practitioners. Principle 19 and 20 on the protection and safety of journalists and other media practitioners. Principle 22 on criminal measures which address criminal restrictions such as laws which criminalize sedition, insult and publication of false news. And Principle 25 on the protection of sources and other journalistic material. I urge you all to familiarize yourself with the provisions of this revised declaration, which can be accessed on the African Commission's website in 4 AU languages: English, French, Portuguese, and Arabic. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Special Rapporteur, I am mandated to make public interventions where violations of the rights to freedom of expression and access to information have been brought to my attention, including by issuing public statements, press releases, and sending appeals to state parties asking for clarifications. Therefore, acting on the reports of violations against journalists which come to my attention, I engage with the state party concerned, calling for the violations to be investigated and redressed. Accordingly, the digital platform for the protection of journalists, which is being launched today, will be a useful source of information on violations committed against journalists in Africa. However, I would like to call on the various organizations which have tirelessly worked with the Commission's mandate on freedom of expression to continue supporting and contributing to its work, including the Center for Human Rights, Article 19, the Media Institute of Southern Africa, the Africa Office of the International Federation of Journalists, just to name a few. The continued support of these organizations has undoubtedly contributed immensely to the achievement of my mechanism. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, allow me to take this opportunity to commend the conveners of the platform for their unwavering commitment to the promotion and protection of the rights of journalists and other media practitioners in Africa. Thank you for your kind attention. And with these few remarks, I wish this meeting successful deliberations. Thank you.
We will now call upon Mr. Rantau, once again, President of the Steering Committee of the Digital Platform on the Safety of a Journalist, to give us a quick walk through the digital platform. Thank you so much, Mr. Rantau.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just sharing the screen. If you bear with us for 1 sec. That is your platform, the Digital Safety for the Safety of Journalists in Africa. What you see there on the landing page, we've got a multiple entry onto the website. You've got the home button where we are going to publish the latest alerts that are coming through. So on our sliding menu there, you can see that we have got the latest alerts, which will be updated, as I said, as we get our stuff. In the next tab, you've got countries. Here we're going to be loading alerts and information from all the African countries. This will include statements from journalist associations or editors associations. The alerts will also be curated into their own category in the next slide, and then we also have got a category where all the data that we are collecting, all the alerts will be turned into data that we can use. So that at the end of each month, at the end of the year, we'll be able to produce a report that not only the digital platform, but all the stakeholders, all the colleagues in the media across the continent will be able to use. The About Us is quite straightforward. It talks about the journey that Lydia and I spoke about. In the partners section, here we are showcasing the number of stakeholders that have joined us, and in terms of functionality, if you were to click on any of these buttons, whether whichever stakeholder you choose, that will take you to the stakeholders page. There's also a little profile that tells you what the partners do and what their role is. News is very straightforward. This is where we will publish the feature and other stories related to the work that we do. The resources category is one that I think will be important for all of us. This is where we'll publish all kinds of resources that we think journalists across Africa are going to need. Anything from research documents, from statements, from reports, from our partners and from wherever we can source these things. These things will be based here. So the website will become also a good resource point for journalists right through Africa. And then lastly, so that we save on time, at the bottom left of the screen, if I do that, you will see that you've got a translate button. If at the click of a button, the website will be translated in a language that you want. I've just translated it to French as we speak. So at the click of a button, you can translate it to any language that you use. If you are in a Portuguese speaking country or Spanish speaking country, that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your website. Very important to emphasize that it is important that the journalist associations and the editors associations and all the partners remember that this is their website. Feed us as much information as you can so that we can make this as updated as possible, so that at the end of the month, end of the year, that we can rely and objective for all of us to use this to end the impunity with which our people are being harassed and killed. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Dinah.
Thank you so much, Jovia. It was really nice to have a quick view of the platform which we are launching today.